For over a century, oil has been the lifeblood of modern civilization, the black gold that fuels our progress. It has seeped into every facet of our lives, becoming so integral that it's hard to imagine a world without it. Powering our economies, industries, driving innovation and shaping global markets. From the smallest gadget to the largest factory, oil's influence is undeniable. And daily routines. We rely on it to get to work, to transport goods and to keep our homes warm. It's not just fuel for cars, it's the invisible ingredient in countless products and processes that underpin our way of life. Oil is in plastics, the ubiquitous material that forms everything from packaging to toys. Fertilizers, essential for modern agriculture and feeding billions of people around the world. Without oil-based fertilizers, our food supply would be drastically reduced. Clothing, particularly synthetic fabrics that make up a significant portion of our wardrobes. And even the roads we drive on, paved with asphalt derived from petroleum. The very infrastructure that connects us relies on this resource. Our global trade, the intricate network of ships, trucks and planes that move goods across the planet, is almost entirely dependent on oil. Food systems, from farm to table, rely on oil for everything from planting and harvesting to processing and distribution. And healthcare, with pharmaceuticals, medical equipment and hospital operations all heavily reliant on petroleum products. All rely on oil's high energy density and versatility. It's a resource that has shaped our world in profound ways. But this dependency comes at a cost we can no longer afford to ignore. Oil is a finite resource, a limited supply that took millions of years to form, created over millions of years through the slow decomposition of organic matter deep beneath the Earth's surface, and consumed in just a few generations. At the rate we're using it, we're depleting this precious resource at an alarming pace. The reality is stark. We are facing a future where oil supplies will dwindle and the consequences will be far-reaching. Our world is built on a resource, a foundation that is slowly but surely eroding beneath our feet. That's running out far faster than it can ever be replaced. We need to acknowledge this reality and prepare for a future beyond oil. Transitioning away from oil, while a monumental task, is essential for the long-term sustainability of our planet and our way of life. Isn't just an environmental choice, it's a matter of survival. The environmental consequences of oil extraction and consumption are devastating. It's an unavoidable necessity. We must invest in research and development of alternative energy sources to secure our future. Understanding this dependency is the first step towards breaking free from its grip and embracing a more sustainable future, toward facing the challenge ahead. It requires a collective effort, involving governments, industries and individuals, to create a new energy paradigm. Oil has powered our greatest achievements, fueling the Industrial Revolution and enabling unprecedented economic growth. But its era is ending. We must acknowledge this transition and prepare for a world powered by cleaner, more sustainable sources of energy. The question is no longer if we'll move on from oil, because the writing is on the wall. The depletion of reserves and the environmental imperative leave us with no other choice. But how? How we manage this transition will determine the future of our planet and the well-being of generations to come. And whether that shift will be chaotic or carefully managed. Will we embrace innovation and collaboration, or will we cling to the past and face the consequences of inaction? The answer will shape the world future generations inherit. Let's make sure it's a world powered by sustainability, resilience, and a commitment to a brighter future for all. When we ask how much oil is left, the answer is complex, proven reserves could last about 27 to 30 years at current consumption rates. Including unconventional sources like tar sands and shale, we might stretch that to 40 or even 100 years, but at much higher financial and environmental costs. Extracting unconventional oil is energy-intensive, expensive, and risky for the environment. The real limit isn't running out physically, but reaching a point where oil becomes too costly to extract and use. This is called economic depletion. Oil becomes a luxury, not a staple. The countdown is to the end of cheap oil, not the last drop. As prices rise, alternatives become more attractive, pushing innovation. The true driver of change will be economics, not geology. Our challenge is to adapt before oil becomes unaffordable. Imagine if all the world's oil vanished overnight, a sudden complete cessation. What would that look like? What would be the immediate consequences? It's a scenario almost too catastrophic to fully comprehend, but let's try to visualize it. Cars, planes, and ships would stop. Transportation, as we know it, would grind to a halt. Millions would be stranded, supply chains severed, and the movement of goods and people frozen in place. Imagine highways littered with abandoned vehicles, airports filled with grounded planes, and harbors choked with motionless ships. And global trade would freeze. The intricate network of international commerce, fueled by oil, would collapse. Ports would become ghost towns, shipping containers would pile up, and the flow of goods across borders would cease entirely. The global economy would be thrown into unprecedented turmoil. Supermarkets would empty within days. The just-in-time delivery systems that keep our shelves stocked rely entirely on oil. Without it, food supplies would dwindle rapidly, leading to panic buying and widespread shortages. Cities would face food and medicine shortages. The distribution networks for essential supplies would break down, leaving urban populations vulnerable. Hospitals would struggle to operate, and access to life-saving medications would become increasingly scarce. And modern agriculture would collapse without fuel and fertilizers. Our ability to feed ourselves depends heavily on mechanized farming and synthetic fertilizers, both of which are derived from oil. Without them, crop yields would plummet, leading to widespread famine. Factories would shut down. Manufacturing processes across all sectors rely on oil for power and raw materials. Without it, production lines would grind to a halt, leading to mass layoffs and economic devastation. Construction would halt. The building industry depends on heavy machinery and the transportation of materials, all of which require oil. Without it, construction sites would become silent and unfinished projects would litter the landscape, and the global economy would implode. The interconnectedness of the modern financial system means that a disruption in one sector can quickly spread to others. The sudden loss of oil would trigger a chain reaction of bankruptcies, market crashes, and economic collapse. Emergency services would be crippled. Ambulances, fire trucks, and police cars would be unable to respond to emergencies, leaving communities vulnerable and exposed. The ability to maintain order and provide essential services would be severely compromised, leaving communities vulnerable. The fabric of society would begin to unravel as essential services collapse and resources become scarce. Social unrest and instability would likely follow. This scenario is fiction. It's a deliberately extreme thought experiment, but it highlights oil's foundational role in our society. It underscores just how deeply embedded this resource is in every aspect of our lives. Our systems are so interconnected. The modern world is a complex web of dependencies where the failure of one component can trigger a cascade of failures throughout the entire system. That losing oil would trigger a cascade of failures. The sudden absence of this critical resource would expose the fragility of our infrastructure and the vulnerability of our society. The real risk is not an instant collapse. A sudden overnight disappearance is unlikely, but our vulnerability to disruption. The more realistic threat is a gradual decline in oil production, coupled with increasing demand and geopolitical instability. The gradual decline we face gives us a window to prepare. We have time to adapt, to innovate, and to build a more resilient future. Building alternatives now is our best insurance. Investing in renewable energy, developing sustainable transportation systems, and promoting energy efficiency are crucial steps towards mitigating the risks of oil dependence. Oil is the pillar. It's the foundation upon which our modern world is built. Removing it without a plan would bring everything down. A carefully considered transition is essential to avoid catastrophic consequences. The time to act is before crisis hits. The future of our society depends on our ability to anticipate and prepare for the challenges ahead. The narrative around the end of oil often paints a picture of sudden collapse, but the reality is far more nuanced. The end of oil won't come overnight. It's a slow, decades-long process shaped by peak oil, a concept that highlights the inevitable decline in production as reserves are depleted. This isn't a cliff but a gradual slope, rising costs, which act as a constant pressure on consumers and industries alike, and new technology that offers viable alternatives and disrupts the established order. As easy oil runs out, the readily accessible reserves that have fueled our economies for generations, we turn to harder-to-reach sources like deep-sea drilling and fracking, pushing the boundaries of extraction technology, keeping oil flowing but at higher prices, reflecting the increased difficulty and environmental costs of these methods. Expensive oil drives innovation. It becomes the catalyst for change, pushing us to find more efficient and sustainable solutions, fuel efficiency, making every drop count through advancements in engine design and vehicle technology, electric vehicles, which are rapidly becoming more affordable and practical, challenging the dominance of the internal combustion engine, and alternative energy become more attractive, as solar, wind, and other renewables offer cleaner and more secure energy sources. Governments respond with policies, incentives, and regulations designed to accelerate the transition away from fossil fuels and investments in renewables, recognizing the long-term economic and environmental benefits of a diversified energy portfolio. This gradual shift gives us time to adapt, to prepare our economies and societies for a future less reliant on oil, build new infrastructure including smart grids, charging stations, and renewable energy plants, and develop cleaner technologies, pushing the boundaries of innovation in areas like energy storage, carbon capture, and sustainable materials. The slow fade of oil is our opportunity to transition, to proactively shape a more sustainable and resilient future, not just react to the inevitable consequences of resource depletion and climate change. We can't replace everything overnight. The global energy system is a complex web of infrastructure and dependencies, but we can plan and invest over decades, strategically allocating resources to accelerate the transition and minimize disruption. Rising costs are a signal to change, a clear indication that the old ways are becoming unsustainable, not a sudden disaster if we act decisively and strategically to manage the decline. The window for action is open, a period of opportunity to invest in the future and build a more sustainable world, but it won't last forever. The urgency of the climate crisis demands immediate and sustained action. The race is on to build a post-oil world, a global effort to transition to cleaner energy sources and create a more sustainable economy. Before the decline becomes crisis, before resource scarcity and environmental degradation overwhelm our ability to adapt. As oil declines, renewables like solar and wind are rising, now the cheapest new electricity in many regions. Their main challenge is intermittency, requiring large-scale energy storage to ensure reliability. Hydropower and nuclear offer steady, carbon-free power, but each has limits: geography, cost, and public acceptance. Geothermal taps Earth's heat, while biofuels and biodiesel can replace liquid fuels, though they compete with food production. Hydrogen, made with renewable electricity, is emerging as a clean fuel for heavy industry and transport. Ammonia is also being explored as a hydrogen carrier. This diverse mix of renewables is key to a resilient, sustainable energy system. The post-oil era will be built on many solutions, not just one. Depleted oil and gas wells are being repurposed as giant underground batteries using compressed air energy storage. Excess renewable energy powers compressors that store air in these old reservoirs. When needed, the air is released to generate electricity, stabilizing the grid. Integrating geothermal heat can boost efficiency even further. This approach turns abandoned wells from liabilities into valuable assets. It provides long-duration storage essential for a renewable-powered grid. Repurposing old infrastructure is a smart bridge to our energy future. Replacing oil means scaling up renewables by 6 to 8 times by 2050. A massive engineering and investment challenge. We must electrify transport, heating, and industry, requiring a modernized, smart power grid. Expanding energy storage, like CES, is crucial for reliability. Achieving this demands global cooperation, investment, and supportive policies. Carbon pricing and streamlined permitting can accelerate the shift. The transformation is immense, but with a clear roadmap, it's achievable. The world can meet the 2050 challenge with determination and action. The path forward starts with energy efficiency. Using less energy makes the transition easier and cheaper. Upgrading insulation, appliances, and industrial processes cuts demand. Electrifying transport and expanding public transit reduces oil use and emissions. Economic tools like carbon pricing make clean energy more competitive. Revenues can support renewables and ensure a fair transition. Relentless investment in research will unlock better batteries, green hydrogen, and advanced solar. Innovation is the engine of progress. Every step counts: efficiency, electrification, smart policy, and research. The cleaner future is built by practical action, not just ambition. The end of oil isn't an apocalypse, it's the next chapter in human progress. We've always adapted, moving from wood to coal to oil and now to renewables. Scarcity drives innovation, and the decline of cheap oil is sparking new solutions. This transition will create new industries, jobs, and a more resilient economy. But urgency is key. The risks of delay are immense, from economic shocks to climate crisis. Success depends on global cooperation and the will to act. We have the tools and knowledge. Now we need commitment. The story of oil's end is still being written. We can choose chaos or a thoughtful transition. The future is ours to build. Let's make it sustainable and bright.